thanks for joining me. I'm going to teach a full-length yoga class today. This class should be good for anybody at any level. I break down the poses so that you should be able to get into whichever variation that is comfortable for you. I just want to emphasize that if you notice that you have any pain in any pose for any reason, just to come out of it, don't push through pain. Make sure you're honoring your body. And I'm dedicating this video to my beautiful friend Kara, because she's helping on the front lines of the COVID-19, and she doesn't really have time to make it to some of the classes that I teach online to my other friends because of her schedule. So thank you, Kara. And this is Basil, if you wanted to know. So we're gonna get started. So take a comfortable seat. So you can start off in a chair if that's comfortable for you. You can sit, I'm sitting on a meditation cushion, you can sit on a block or a blanket, just as long as your head, neck, and trunk are all aligned. Crown of the head is reaching up towards the sky. Relax your shoulders. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And I want you to really tune into the breath. So we're gonna place our hands on our belly. I like to start off class this way. So breathing into your hands. Feel the expansion of your belly. You want to completely relax your belly on the inhale and the exhale. Feel the navel move towards the spine. On your inhales, feel yourself growing taller. And on your exhales, feel yourself grounding down a little bit more. We're going to take our hands and place them on the sides of our body. We're going to breathe into our sides. So as you inhale, you're going to feel your lower ribs flaring out. And as you exhale, you're going to feel the ribs move towards your midline. Still growing taller on the inhales and still grounding down on the exhales. Then we're going to take our hands and place them on our low back. So you can place your palms against your back or the backs of your hands against your back, whatever's comfortable for you. And we're going to breathe into our back. So you're not going to feel as much movement here as you did in the front and sides of your body, but you'll feel a little bit of movement. So just breathe into that area. Feel the expansion. Great, and then we're going to take our hands and just place them either gently on your lap or on your knees or in your lap. And we're going to breathe into those three areas. So you're going to feel expansion and contraction in all of those directions that we just breathed in. Breathing into that relaxed belly, exhaling from that relaxed belly. Just take a moment and set your intention for your practice today. Whatever that might be. Breathe that intention into your heart. Great, and then we're going to start to move into the physical part of our class today. You can keep your eyes closed, or you can open them, just depends on what you're comfortable with. So we're going to start off by dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. So we're still sitting up tall, you're pressing that left shoulder down towards the ground. That's going to help increase the stretch of the left side of your neck. If you want, you can take your right hand and place it on your head. We're not pulling the head down, it's just the gentle weight of the hand on your head. Still taking those full deep inhales and exhales. If your hand is on your head, you can release that. We're going to slowly roll your head down and then over to the other side. Left ear is at your left shoulder. Press that right shoulder down towards the ground. You're going to take that left hand and place it on your head. If you'd like, you don't have to. Remember, it's just the weight of the hand. And you're going to breathe into the right side of your neck. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. We're going to release that hand on your head, or if it was on your head, release it. And start to roll your head from ear to ear. So take your time with it, moving nice and slow. So a lot of times we have tension in our neck, whether we slept wrong or we just did something to our neck that didn't feel right. And what we tend to do is really try to stretch our necks out. We're like, oh, I have a tight neck, and we try to stretch it. You want to just be really gentle with your body. So if you notice that you have any pain here, which happens to me quite often, for some reason I get a lot of stiff necks, just reduce the range of motion. So instead of going as far as you normally would, just come up a little bit and make that range of motion less, to the point where you don't feel any pain. So just make sure that you do an even amount on both sides. And then bring your head back up to a neutral position. Great, from here we're going to raise both arms up towards the sky on the inhale. Exhale, place that right hand down on the ground and extend the left arm past your left ear. So from here, I like to come off whatever I'm sitting on because that's more comfortable for me, but if you want to stay on whatever you're sitting on, you can stay on there. I say to place your right hand down on the ground, but if you can get your right forearm on the ground without your left sit bone coming off the ground, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Just make sure that if you lift that left sit bone off the ground, come back up onto the hand. You're going to get more of a beneficial stretch with the sit bones firmly planted. So again, you're pressing the left shoulder back, really reaching through those fingertips. You want to breathe into the left side of the body here. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And we're going to come back up. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Left hand or left forearm. Remember, right sit bone stay firmly planted. Extend the right arm past your right ear. So make sure you press that right shoulder back. You don't want to collapse your chest down. And you might notice that one side is tighter than the other. For me, this side is tighter than the other side. And that's okay. It's just something to pay attention to as you move through your practice. Really reaching through those fingertips. Great, and then we're going to come back up and we're going to make our way onto our hands and knees for cat-cow. So I have a pretty thick mat, but if you need extra padding underneath your knees, just take a blanket and place that there. So you want your hands to be directly underneath your shoulders. Knees are hip distance apart. And we're going to start by moving segmentally with each part of our spine before we move into the cat-cow. So we're going to inhale, look up with just the head. So we're just moving the upper spine. And then exhale, we're going to bring that chin down to our chest. So notice I'm not moving any other part of my spine, just my upper spine. Inhale, look up. Exhale, chin to chest. One more time, inhale, look up. Exhale, chin to chest. we're going to move into the second part of our spine, the mid-spine. So we're going to inhale. I like to use the cue of thinking about dropping your sternum down towards the ground. The shoulder blades are pressing together. I'm not arching my low back and I'm not arching my upper back. So those are staying neutral. You're just arching that mid back. Keep the elbows straight. We have a tendency to want to bend the elbows here. And then exhale, you're going to press that mid back up towards the sky. Remember, keeping the other parts of your spine neutral. Inhale, coming back down. Arching that mid back. Exhale, pressing that mid back away. One more time, coming down, arching that mid back. Exhale, pressing that mid back away. And then come back to neutral. If you need to, shake the wrists out. Sometimes this is a lot for the wrists. And then we're going to go to the lower back, the lumbar spine. So we're going to inhale, arch just the low back. Exhale, tuck that tailbone under, rounding that low back. Inhale, arching the low back. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under, rounding that low back. One more time. Inhale, arching the low back. Exhale, rounding that low back. Great. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to tuck the toes under and we're going to start to sit back onto the heels. So for some of you, this is excruciatingly painful because your feet are really tight. Some of you can very easily come up and sit onto your heels. So if it is really painful for you, I suggest to just keep your hands on the ground and just over time, you slowly start to add more weight, and it might not be today, and that's okay. So even if you stay here the whole time. So we're just gonna stay here. If you're up here, you can just bring your hands into a prayer at your heart center, and we're just stretching the feet out. So it's something that we kind of forget a lot because we're in shoes all the time, especially now that it's springtime and we're moving into summer. It's a good idea to start stretching the feet out so we don't get so many foot cramps when we try to go barefoot. So we're going to come back down. You can shake those feet out if that's helpful for you. And we're going to do one more cat-cow. So this is going to be, so these are all just variations on cat-cow. This is going to be just traditional cat-cow. So we're going to inhale, arch the back, drop the belly, looking up. Exhale, chin to chest, tuck the tailbone under, rounding the back. So really press up like you're a cat. Inhale, arching the back, dropping the belly, gazing up. Exhale, rounding the back, tucking the tailbone, chin to chest. Really press up high like a cat, raising its back. Inhale, drop the belly, arch the back, gaze up. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under, chin to chest, rounding the spine. Great, we're going to come back into our neutral spine. We're going to stretch the shoulders out a little bit, extended puppy pose. I'm just moving back here so you can see me a little better. I hope. Hands are directly underneath the shoulders. And you keep your hips right above the knees. These don't move. So what tends to happen is people move forward or back. You want to keep your knees or your hips right above your knees and just walk those hands out in front of you. And then your head is falling in between the shoulders. So notice where my hips are. They're right above the knees. If you can get your forehead to touch the ground, that's great. If not, that's also great. You're just stretching the shoulders, the arms, and the back. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And if you have the flexibility, maybe you can touch your chin to the mat. And if not, again, that's perfectly fine. One is not better than the other. Start to walk your hands back. And we're going to make our way down or into a downward facing dog. So we're going to tuck the toes under. You're going to press yourself back. So do what you think is a downward facing dog, and I'm going to talk you through the proper alignment. So feet are hip distance apart, hands are shoulder distance apart. First things first is I like to slide forward into a plank, so top of a push-up position. Here, my wrists are right underneath my shoulders, like I'm going to do a push-up. If you can't hold that for very long, you can always drop the knees. But from here, you're going to press yourself into your downward facing dog. Notice I'm not moving my hands or feet. And if you have really tight legs, your heels might be up in the air and you might have a roundingness to your spine. If that's happening, I want you to bend through the knees slightly, press your sits bones up towards the sky, and then start to sink the heels down, even if they don't touch the ground. That's going to help stretch out your back and the backs of your legs. If you can get your heels down to the ground, that's great too. And we're all just going to start to pedal our feet out. So if your knees are already bent, you're just pedaling them out deeper. Just starting to warm up those hamstrings, the backs of the legs. Great. And from here, we're going to slowly start to walk the feet up towards the hands. So we're going to come into a forward fold. If you have very tight hamstrings, you might want to use a block to help you fold forward. So what happens is when your legs are really tight, you can't, and if your back is really tight, you can't fully fold over with a flat back. So using this block will help you stretch out the backs of your legs. And it makes it less excruciating. So if you don't have to use a block, you're just going to allow yourself to fold over your straightened legs. I encourage you to have at least a slight bend to your knees just to start off with, just because this is the first forward fold and we're not 100% warmed up. And while we're here, you can grab onto opposite elbows. You can sway from side to side. You can nod your head yes, shake your head no. And I encourage you to take a nice big deep inhale through your nose and sigh it out through your mouth. You can do that one more time if you'd like. And while we're in our forward fold, to get more of a stretch, you want to think about pressing into the four corners of your feet. So pressing into the big toe mounds, the little toe mounds, the back corners of your heels. You want to engage your calves, engage your thighs, press your sits bones up towards the sky, and then that's when you start to relax down even more. So your upper body is literally just hanging here. This is a really great pose to do if you're really stressed out. I do this a lot at the end of the day before I take a shower or after I get out of the shower and I notice just my back decompresses. So we're going to slowly start to come up, and as we come up, we're going to roll up. So you're going to tuck your chin into your chest. We all have that slight bend to our knees at least already. Roll up one vertebrae at a time. So there's no rush to get up to the top. Your head is the last thing to come up. And once we come all the way up, we're going to open the chest. So we're going to clasp our hands behind our back, press the shoulder blades together, and begin to lift the wrists away from your back. So if you have tight shoulders, you can use a strap, and if you don't have a strap, you can use a blanket or a towel, and you can just place it behind your hands and start to lift up. Especially men, a lot of people who do lifting, they have tight shoulders and they might not be able to clasp their hands like this. So while we're here, you can look up if you want to. It just helps open up the chest a little bit more, but I don't want you to collapse in your low back. We want to keep our low back nice and safe. So we tend to collapse as we do back bends a lot of times. We're just opening up the chest. So this is an upper back bend, a way to open up the chest. Great, so we're going to release our arms, and we're going to loosen up our spine a little bit. So we're going to cross our arms in front of us. You want to keep your head in line with your spine. So what I mean by that is it's as we move, it's going to stay in line with your spine rather than flopping around or moving where it wants to move. Probably looks funny. Reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. Feet are hip distance apart, or you can have them a little wider if that's comfortable for you. And we're going to start to touch the left shoulder to the left hip. Obviously won't touch, but that's the action that we're going for. So notice my head is in line with my spine and I'm not letting it hang down. We're going to inhale, come back up to center. Right shoulder to right hip. Neck is in line with the spine. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, left shoulder to left hip. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, right shoulder to right hip. It's raining outside. Come back up. And then we're going to start to make circles with our spines, keeping our neck in line with our spine. Again, we're not going to allow it to roll around. So to start off, we're going to go to the left side, left shoulder to left hip. And then you're going to come forward, and we're going to start to make circles. So make those circles tiny just to start off with. And you can lean back as far as you want to or as little as you want to. I really don't like to lean back that far. I feel like it puts too much pressure on my low back. And you'll notice that after the second and the third circle, that you may want to move into a bigger circle. You'll feel this stretch in your lower back. And then we're going to go in the opposite direction. Again, you can start off with small circles if you want to, or you can make the circles bigger. And I like to move really slow in my classes so that you have the opportunity to feel what these poses and these movements feel like rather than just doing the thing or doing the pose. So we're going to come back up. We're going to get some warmth in our body. So we're going to move into Utkatasana. Feet are hip distance apart, or you can have them together. That's a little bit more challenging. I like to have my feet a little hip distance apart. Weight is going to be in the heels. You want to make sure your low back is nice and flat. You want to engage your abdominal muscles in this position. And it's like we're sitting back into an imaginary chair. So we're going to inhale, sit back into that imaginary chair. You're going to reach those arms up. So if keeping your arms up like this creates a lot of tension in your neck and shoulders, cactus them, 90-degree angle. You can always bring them into prayer. One is not better than the other. They're just different. So reaching the arms up, remember we're sitting back onto the heels. The weight is in your heels so you can lift your toes up if you wanted to. A lot of my students leave their toes lifted. You don't have to do that. You can press those toes back down, but you want the weight to be in the heels so you could lift your toes. Engaging the abdominals, your low back is not arching. So sometimes we don't know that we're arching our back, and you can experiment by not you can over round your back and then arch your back and find a place that's in the middle. So deep, full inhales and exhales. And then we're going to press through the heels, reach through the crown of the head, stand back up, Tadasana. Palms are by your side. So for Tadasana, your palms are facing forward, your feet are underneath your hips, and you have a very slight bend to your knees. We're not locking our knees. We're not trying to stand up like a board. You're relaxed in your body. You're standing up tall. So we're gonna do that Utkatasana again. Feet are hip distance apart or together, whatever works for you. Inhale, sweep the arms up towards the sky. Remember that we're sitting back onto our heels. Relax the shoulders if your arms are up. Relax your face and jaw. We tend to clench our jaw when we're stressed or have some tension in our body. Relax the face and jaw. We'll just turn this way. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Press through the heels, reach through the crown of the head, stand back up, Tadasana. Deep, full inhale, complete exhale. So now we're going to move dynamically, and what that means is moving with our breath. So what we're going to do is inhale, come down into our Utkatasana, exhale, come back up into our Tadasana. Inhale, come down, sitting back. Exhale, press through the heels, reach through the crown of the head, stand back up, Tadasana. So move at your own pace with your breath. Inhale, sitting back. Exhale, press through the heels, reach to the crown of the head, Tadasana. Inhale, sit back. Exhale, press through the heels, reach through the crown of the head, Tadasana. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, stand back up. Great, and just take a moment in your Tadasana. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Just notice the heat that you built in your body. Notice where you feel energized and warm. Great, and we're gonna come into some more movement poses. So come to the top of your mat, or if you don't have a mat, wherever you are. And we're going to inhale, sweep the arms up towards the sky. You're going to catch a prayer up above you. I want you to squeeze your glutes together, reach through the fingertips, and you can start to lean back. So it's important to engage your glutes so you're not just collapsing in the low back. Then we're going to come inhale, back up to center. Exhale, prayer comes straight down through center, forward fold. Inhale, we're going to come halfway up. Crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, forward fold. Remember, in your forward folds, you can be using your block if you need to. Inhale, come halfway up. I like to put my hands on my shins. Some people like to put their hands on the floor. Your back is nice and flat. Reach to the crown of the head. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale, reach through the crown of the head. Halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Great. We're going to step our right foot back and then step the left foot back into a downward facing dog. Feet are hip distance apart, hands are shoulder distance apart. Fingertips are spread nice and wide, pressing the backs of the knuckles into the mat. Remember, you can have a bend to your knees if you'd like. We're going to work on some upper body strength and some core strength. So we're going to inhale, slide forward into a plank, so top of the push-up position. Remember, if you can't hold plank, you can always take the modified variation. I'm still engaging my core in this position. This is still doing a lot of work. So taking plank or modified plank, holding here. So no matter which one that you're in, you're reaching through the crown of the head and pressing back through the heels, engaging your abdomen. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And we're going to drop to the knees if you're not already there. And then we're going to lower ourselves down. Elbows are squeezing into the sides of the body. So that's really important. You don't want them to come out to the side. Hug the elbows into the sides of the body as you start to come down. Great, so we're completely laying on the ground now. From here, we're going to come into our baby cobra. Hands are still underneath the shoulders because I haven't moved anything. So you're going to reach through the crown of the head. So you're not using your hands to bring yourself up. You're reaching through the crown of the head, lifting your upper body, your chin and your chest off the ground. And to make sure that you're not propping yourself, lift the hands up. You're going to feel the engagement of your low back and your upper back. And we're going to exhale, come back down. We're going to do that again. Inhale, lifting yourself up. Lift your hands up. Exhale, lower yourself back down. Next time we lift ourselves up, we are going to use our hands. So we're going to inhale first, lift yourself up without using your hands. And then you're going to squeeze the elbows into the sides of the body. And then just press up a little bit more. I don't want to see you pressing all the way back like this because we're not warmed up for that. So just press yourself up using your hands just to get yourself a little bit higher. And as we're in this position, a lot of people tend to shrug their shoulders. Press the scapulas or the shoulders back and down, like you're trying to tuck them into your back pockets. Keep this chest nice and open. Holding here for a couple breaths. And then lower yourself back down. Great, we're going to tuck the back toes under. And we're going to press ourselves into a downward facing dog. So you have two options. You can press yourself by coming onto your hands and knees and then pressing yourself back. Or if you have the strength, you can press yourself straight up and back. Notice I have not moved my hands at all for either of those poses. My hands are my feet. So next, we're going to inhale, step the right foot forward between my hands. So if it gets stuck, say it gets stuck here, you can grab a hold of the ankle and help it forward. Or if you really have a hard time, you can always drop the left knee, step the foot forward, and then lift that leg back up. So we're all going to drop that left knee anyway. This is where you might want to grab a hold of your blocks, which I think I forgot to tell you guys, but that's okay. So we're in our low lunge or Anjaneyasana position. You're going to squeeze your thighs together. Theoretically, imagine that you're squeezing them together. Engage your core and engage your glutes. Very slightly, we're going to sink down into this right knee, and you're going to feel the stretch in your left hip flexor. You don't have to be like this to get the benefits of the pose. This is kind of sloppy and we're just collapsing into our joints. If you're here, you're engaging the muscles of your legs by squeezing them together, engaging your core, engaging your glutes. Once you start to sink down just a tiny bit, you're going to feel that stretch. Again, you might want to put a blanket underneath your knee here, and you can inhale, lift the arms up if you'd like to. If you're lifting the arms up, tilt the pinkies in towards one another and relax the shoulders. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Coming into our runner stretch, straightening out through the right leg, flexing through the right foot. This is where using the blocks comes in handy. If you don't have blocks, you can use books or anything that brings the floor up to you. So my leg is straight. My back is straight. I'm standing up on this left knee, right? My chest is nice and open. And what I don't want to see is rounding down. Like this is not going to help you get your stretch. Just because you get close to this leg doesn't mean you're getting the benefits of the stretch. Keeping your back nice and flat and imagining you're placing your belly and your heart down first rather than your head down first. And that's where using the blocks comes in handy. If you're super tight, you can always use two blocks, one on top of the other, and keep pulling those right toes in towards you. So I could touch the ground while keeping my back flat, but I like to use the blocks because it helps encourage me to keep my back even flatter rather than trying to reach down. And you can always adjust the level of the blocks as you go. You'll feel the stretch in the back of your knee, the back of the leg. And then we're going to re-bend through the right knee. We're going to heel toe that right foot to the right of the mat. Hands come to the inside edge of that right foot. Tuck the left toes under, lift the back leg off the ground, and step that left foot to the top of the mat. We're going to inhale, slowly start to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Head is the last thing to come up. Again, we're going to clasp our hands behind our back, Remember, we're not going to arch that low back. Low back stays nice and neutral. We're going to start to lift the wrist away from the body. And then from here, we're going to fold forward. So we're going to start to flip the wrist over your head. And again, you could be using your strap if you needed to in this position. And I encourage you to bend your knees here. So we're just doing this for the shoulders. It's not really so much for the legs. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Releasing the hands down. Inhale, we're going to come halfway up to our flat back. Exhale, hands come down on either sides of our feet. Coming to the top of the mat. We're going to step the left foot back first this time, and then step the right foot back. So we're coming into our plank pose right away. Hands are directly underneath the shoulders, knees are hip distance apart. So to strengthen our obliques, the sides of our core, we're going to turn and we're going to rotate to the outside edge of the right foot and putting the weight onto the right hand. So this might be a lot for you. You can drop the right knee. You're still going to be engaging the obliques on the right side. So I'm just going to demonstrate the variation. So it doesn't, a lot of people think they have to have their shoulder right above their wrist, but you can play around with the different areas of where your hand is. I like to have it somewhere underneath or a little bit in front of. So we're rotating our bodies so that our shoulders are stacked one on top of the other, our hips are stacked one on top of the other. You can lift your arms up or your left arm up if you want to. If you wanted to try the full variation, you're going to extend out through that right leg, stacking the left foot on top of the right foot. We're all pressing our hips up, even if you're in the variation. Reach through the crown of the head and back through the heels. We tend to round in this pose, so you want to keep yourself nice and straight. Deep, full inhales and exhales. If you want to add the variation of lifting your leg up, you can do that too. You can do that in the knee down variation as well. Adds a little extra. And then we're all going to come back into our plank pose. We're going to lower the knees if you're not already there. And then we're going to lower the upper half of the body. Remember, elbows are tucked into the sides of the body, but we're going to pause halfway. Deep, full inhales and exhales. Reach through the crown of the head. And then lower all the way down. Inhale, we're going to come up into our baby cobra, holding just for a breath. Exhale, coming back down. And we'll make our way back into our downward facing dog. Great. Inhale. Step that left foot forward between your hands. Remember, help it forward if you need to in whichever way that works for you. We're dropping the right knee, coming up. You can start off by placing your hand on your left knee if that works for you. We're going to squeeze our thighs together, engage your core, squeeze your glutes, and then start to sink down into the left knee. You're going to feel the stretch in that right hip flexor, and maybe reach the arms up on either sides of your ears. Tilt the pinkies in towards one another. Relax the shoulders. Breathe into this stretch. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Great, coming into our runner stretch, or Ardha Hanumanasana, which just means half Hanumanasana, half Hanuman pose. Coming to standing on that knee again. Crown of the head is reaching towards the sky. Chest is nice and open. Remember, we're going to try to place our belly down first and then our heart down first rather than getting our head down, even if it never ever touches. That's just the goal that we're going for. Keep pulling the left toes in towards you. You're going to feel that stretch increase in the back of that left leg. And with every exhale, feel yourself moving deeper into every pose that we do. Allow yourself to settle in. That's why we hold poses a little bit longer. Well, that's why I like to teach that way. Allow yourself to sink in. So actually, there's a stretch reflex that our body has where when we get into a stretch, the muscles start to tense up. And that's because if we were just allowed to stretch our muscles or however we wanted to, we would rip them. So our body has a stretch reflex. I think it's between 15 to 30 seconds. So what you need to do is you need to hold a stretch for at least that long in order to allow your muscles to stop tensing up and allow them to relax. And that's how we can get deeper into a stretch. So we're going to rebend through the left knee. You're going to place your hands on either side of that left foot, tuck your back toes under, step the right foot to the top of the mat. Inhale, we're going to come halfway up, and exhale, we're going to forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up towards the sky, catch a prayer, and bring it down into your heart. Great. So we're going to move into some standing poses next. I like to come to the center of my mat just because it's easier to demonstrate, but you don't have to. So you're going to step your feet wide. I want to say the length a lot of people like to use is if you were to extend your hands out, your ankles are right underneath your wrists, but I say that with a grain of salt. So if you don't have that flexibility or the stability, being here, if that's your wide stance, that's okay too. And just move through the poses as we move throughout with your legs, just not as wide. And that's okay. So we're going to come into a warrior two. We're going to point our right foot towards the front of the mat. We're going to make sure that that left arch of our foot is lining up with the heel of the right foot. So I like to say that right heel is cutting that left foot in half. You're pressing down on the outside edge of the left foot, and then we're going to sink down into the right knee. So the one thing you need to pay attention to is that if you do have a shorter stance, say here, and you start to bend into this knee, it's easier for your knee to go over your ankle. So just be mindful of that. Make sure your knee stays above the ankle or behind it. So you want to make sure that you're engaging your pelvic floor, engaging your abdominals, reaching down with the tailbone and up with the crown of the head. You're creating length in your upper body. We're going to reach that right arm forward, left arm back. And what happens a lot of times is people just get like spaghetti arms. You want to make sure that you're being really active in this pose. So it's like you're trying to touch opposite walls with your arms. And then relax the shoulders. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. We're going to come into reverse warrior. We're going to place the left hand down onto the left leg, flip the right palm up towards the sky. Start to reach with the right fingertips before you tilt back. So that's going to create length on the right side of the body, and then you start to tilt back. So you're sliding the left hand down the left leg. In this position, you're still sinking down into that right knee, still reaching through the right fingertips. You're going to feel that stretch on the right side of your body. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Imagine someone's pulling you from your right fingertips, pulling you back into your warrior two. We're going to straighten out through the right leg. And we're going to come into triangle pose. So I have an ankle injury that I've been dealing with for a while that reduces my range of motion for this ankle. So I'm going to be using a block, and you can definitely use a block if you need to. So both legs are straight. You're going to reach both arms out just like we did for warrior two. We're going to reach that right arm as far forward as we can. Your right hand comes down onto your shin, a block, or the floor, and you're going to reach your left arm up towards the sky. So for this position, what happens is a lot of times people tend to collapse forward because they want to touch the ground. You want to make sure that you're pressing your upper body back. So imagining that there's a wall behind you, and you can practice this against a wall, and your back and butt are against the wall. That'll help you figure out the proper alignment for your back in this position. You don't want to completely lock the knee out either. You want to have a little baby micro bend in your knee. And you're going to feel a stretch in your lower left back and in your right leg. Again, deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. One more time, imagining someone's pulling you up from the left fingertips, coming back up. We're going to point both feet towards the long side of the mat, and we're going to do that same sequence on the other side. So we're going to point the left toes towards the back of the mat. Let's just call that the back. The left heel is bisecting the arch of the right foot. You're pressing down on the outside edge of the right foot, and then you start to sink down into the left knee. You want to be mindful that your knee is not going towards the left or the right of the ankle either. That's another problem, that's another thing that could cause problems in your knee. You want to make sure your knee is stable. So once you get your knee and your feet in the proper position, engage your pelvic floor, engage your abdominals, reach up with the crown of the head and down with the tailbone, again creating that length. Reach the left arm forward, right arm back. Actively reaching through those fingertips. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Flip the left palm up towards the sky. Right hand goes onto that right thigh. Remember, we're reaching through the left fingertips before we start to tilt back, to keep that length in the left side of the body. You're still sinking down into that left knee. A lot of people like to bring their right hand behind their back, or you can even cradle your hand like you're cradling a baby in front of you. I just like to leave my right hand back here. You just don't want to put pressure on that knee. My hand is just hanging out here. I'm not putting any weight into it. And then we're going to come back into our warrior two. So imagine someone's pulling you up from the left fingertips. This time we're going to straighten out through that left leg. Relief in that left leg. We're going to come into our triangle pose on this side. So both legs are straight. We're going to reach as far forward as we can with the left hand. Left hand comes down onto your shin, a block, or the floor. You can see I have more range of motion in this ankle. And you want to make sure that you're leaning back. So we're not leaning all the way back, but you don't want to be coming forward. Remember, imagine that you're leaning up against a wall. Reaching the right fingertips up towards the sky. Slight bend in that left knee, just that micro bend. Feeling that stretch in the lower right back and that left leg, and breathe deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And we're going to come back up. Imagine someone's pulling you up from the right fingertips. So use your core to stand back up. Point both feet forward, and then we're going to step the feet together. So we're going to come down into a squat next. So if you have knee issues, I suggest using a block, and I'll demonstrate that. Or you can also just not come all the way down. So for squat, you want your feet to be wider than hip distance apart. It's also known as malasana. Toes are pointed out, heels are pointed in. And for the not all the way down variation, you would come down just like this. You want to make sure that you're keeping your back flat in this position. We're not rounding down. But if you can get all the way down, or maybe you come to sitting on a block, a lot of students have knee issues and they still don't have that range of motion, and that's okay. This is a nice way of still getting into Malasana 2. If you can get all the way down, that's great. We're gonna bring our hands in a prayer at heart center. So if you're in that first variation that I showed you, that can be really tiring. It's awesome that you're building strength, so if you need to take a break at any time, just come out of it. So hands come into prayer. We're reaching the crown of the head up towards the sky. You want to keep your low back and your mid back, actually your whole back, you want to try to keep your whole back nice and flat. We tend to collapse our back in this pose. Think about straightening that back as best you can. You're probably going to feel your mid back working a lot. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. Great, and then we're going to take a twist. We're going to grab a hold of that right ankle with your, left ankle with your right hand, and we're going to lift the left arm up towards the sky. So if you're in this variation, just grab a hold of that knee and twist up. So we're peeling that left arm up, breathing into our twist. And then we're going to come back to center, grab a hold of that right ankle, peel that right arm up, breathe into your twist. Complete full inhales and exhales. Great, we're going to come back to center, hands come into prayer just for another moment. Remember, we're keeping our backs nice and flat. Reach up through the crown of the head. Place your hands down on the ground. Straighten up through your legs, heel toe those feet together. We're going to inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up towards the sky. Catch a prayer and bring it down into your heart. Great, so now we're going to come to sitting. We're going to come all the way down and we're going to work on our strengthening the core a little bit more. So we want to keep the core nice and strong because it helps us keep the rest of our body stable. So if you think about it, it's the connector to everything. When we're standing, we want to make sure that the upper body is nice and safe. And when we're sitting, lifting our legs, you want to make sure everything is nice and stable. If your core is really weak, we tend to compensate in our lower backs a lot of the time. And that's where a lot of low back pain comes from. So we're going to do boat pose or Navasana. We're going to take our feet to the ground. Hands come underneath your knees. You can start off with your toes on the ground, and maybe that's a variation that works for you. Maybe you can lift your legs up. You want to make sure that you keep your chest open in this pose. So, sorry, you can take a break for a second. What happens when you come into this pose and you're not keeping your chest open is we collapse. And we stay like this. And what that's doing is not strengthening your core, and you're collapsing in your back. So we're compensating for a weak core. So if keeping your toes on the ground is the only way that you can keep your chest open, then stay there and work on that. If you start to collapse just by lifting your feet up, lift or lower the toes down a little bit more. So we're here, whatever variation you're at, your chest is open, low back is nice and flat. If you can, maybe hands come out to the side. Deep, full inhales and exhales. We're going to lower the feet back down, hug the knees into the chest. So if you felt that this variation was really easy, you can always do the full variation, but remember, you want to keep your low back flat and you want to keep your chest open. So the next variation we're going to do, I'm going to use a block. I like to use a weight when I do this. So I have some weights over there, but I'm just going to demonstrate it with a block in case you don't have it. And you don't need to have a weight, it just makes it a little bit harder. So again, you can do it with your toes on the ground, and you can do it with your feet like this. We're going to have the block whichever way you want. I'm going to do it on its thinnest side. And we're going to exhale, turn to one side, pausing here. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, turn to the other side. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Drop those feet down. And we're going to make our way onto our backs. So if you want to use your core a little bit more, as you come down, use your core to slowly roll yourself down. So we're going to have our feet be hip distance apart. You don't have to have your knees or your heels super close to your body. Have them a comfortable distance away, but you also don't want to have them like super far away. So someplace that's comfortable. Some people say, so you can touch the backs of your heels with your hands, but that might not work for your knees, and that's okay. So bring them out a little bit further. We're gonna work on our pelvis right now. So a lot of times when people have low back injuries, their pelvis is something that doesn't move as much anymore because it locks up when you're hurt to protect you. So what you want to be able to do is safely move your pelvis so that it reminds your body that it's okay to move it. So we're just going to do some pelvic rocks. What we're going to do is we're going to inhale, arch the low back. So I have all of this space underneath my low back. I'm not lifting my hips up. I'm literally just arching the low back. Exhale, you're going to press your low back down into the ground. So we're just rocking our pelvis. Inhale, you're arching your low back. Exhale, press your low back down into the ground. And we're just going to keep doing this, so you're going to move at your own pace with your breath. And you might find this to be very therapeutic for you. I feel like it feels wonderful for my back, and I've had low back injuries, and I've heard the same from my students, and you might not like this, but it's something, as long as it doesn't hurt, it's a really good therapeutic thing to do for your back. Next time that you exhale, press your lower back into the ground, we're gonna press through our heels and begin to lift your pelvis up one vertebrae at a time. So we're going to come to our maximum height, whatever that is for you. You're going to squeeze your glutes together. We're going to take 2 complete breaths, 2 full inhales and exhales. And then begin to lower yourself down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Until we come all the way down. So when we lower our vertebrae down, I want you to imagine, and I'll remind you when we do it again, that your spine is like a chain, and you're lowering it down 1 link at a time, and you're trying not to make any sound with that chain. The more you pay attention to the articulation of your spine, the better spine health you're going to eventually get. And you might notice that your spine lowers down in like chunks, like maybe just like there's areas where you're just like, I get no articulation, and that just means you have to go a little bit slower there. So we're going to do that again. We're going to exhale, press the low back into the ground, press through the heels, begin to lift your pelvis up. Lift the spine off the ground 1 vertebrae at a time. Once you get to the top, wherever that maximum height is for you, you're going to squeeze the glutes together. 2 full inhales and exhales. And then as we lower ourselves down, remember it's like a chain, 1 chain link at a time, and go as slowly as you need to. So if I'm going too quickly for you, just ignore me. and listen to your body and go at your own pace. And once you come all the way down, you're going to exhale. Once again, press your low back into the ground, press through the heels. We're going to lift our pelvis up, come to your maximum height. This time, we're going to stay here for a little bit longer. So you're squeezing the glutes together. If you want, you can clasp your hands behind your back. This just allows you to get even more of a back bend. If this is not accessible to you, then stay with what we were doing before. So you can wiggle onto your shoulders. So remember, I'm pressing through the heels, reaching through my pelvis, squeezing my glutes together. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And we're going to slowly come down. So again, lowering yourself down one vertebrae at a time or one chain link at a time. There's absolutely no rush. Once you get down to your back, you're going to bring your knees into your chest. And we're just going to rock from side to side or make circles on that lower lumbar spine. It'll feel like a nice gentle massage. Coming into a happy baby. So soles of the feet go up towards the sky. You're going to start to bend through the knees so that your knees are coming towards the outsides of your body. And from here, a lot of people tend to right away try to grab a hold of their feet and their low back comes off the ground. And if your low back is coming off the ground, you're not neutralizing your spine anymore. So you want to make sure, first things first, low back is firmly pressed down into the ground, your hips are opening up, and if you have to, maybe you have to hold up all the way up onto your shins to make sure that your low back is firmly pressed down into the ground. This is just like doing a squat, but doing it on the ceiling. So it's just a different way of doing it. So if you notice that squat was difficult for you, this might be difficult for you too. You don't have to grab a hold of your feet. It doesn't make you any better or worse if you can grab onto your feet. It's just different. So wherever you're holding onto, you can stay stationary, or if you'd like, you can rock from side to side. Just like a happy baby. You can play around with straightening out through one leg, straightening out through the other leg. And come back to knees to chest. And from here, we're going to rock forward and back until we come up to a seated position. If that doesn't work for you, just rock off or roll off to the side and come up to a seated position. Coming right into Paschimottanasana. So a forward fold with our legs straight. I'm going to demonstrate it using a strap. I encourage you to use a strap just to start off with. So the strap is there to help us keep our backs nice and flat so we're not rounding down. So we're going to fold forward, and as we're folding forward, remember I'm trying to get my belly down first, and then if I was to, I would get my chest down, not head. So you come down, keeping your back as flat as you can, press the shoulder blades back, so you're pressing them back and then down into your back pockets. So I'm not letting them ride up by my ears, being stressed. Just relax them down your back. And so maybe if you're really tight, this is where your Paschimottanasana is, and that's fine. That's where you're at, and that's where you're working. That's what you're working with. That's okay. Over time, the more you practice, you might be able to limber yourself up a little bit more. But remember, touching your toes is not the goal. So do whatever works for you. And if this is not enough of a stretch for you, a little added stretch for those of you who are very flexible, you can take a block and place it at the feet. So that's going to help bring the feet in towards you, and you're still keeping your back nice and flat. Deep, full, complete inhales and exhales. And we're going to come back up. We're going to take Janu Shirshasana, one of my favorite poses. Left foot tucks into that right thigh. I'm going to demonstrate it with the strap just to start off with. Wrapping the strap around the ball of the right foot. And remember, whenever I say strap, you can use blanket or block too. Or blanket or towel. Be hard to use the block. So reach through the crown of the head. You want to keep your back nice and flat. Remember, we're trying to place our belly down and then our heart down. You want to keep the back flat. If you can grab onto the toes, that's great, but I don't want you to start to round your back if you grab a hold of the toes. If you notice your back is rounding, just come back to using the strap. It's better to use the strap and get the benefits of the pose than it is to just touch the feet. That's why I like to start off with the strap. So you should feel a stretch in your lower left back and in your right leg. And we're going to come back up. And we're going to get a nice stretch in the side of our body. So we're going to take our right leg and just bring it to the right a little bit more. Tuck that right foot in a little closer. You might need to use a block for this next part. So your right hand or right forearm goes to the inside edge of the right leg. And so the block is there if you don't have the flexibility and you need it for your hand or your forearm. So if your hand or forearm is on the ground or block, you're going to press that left shoulder back. So we're just opening the chest up. I already feel the stretch in my lower left back. And then from here, you're going to start to extend the left arm past your left ear. So just start to bring it up almost in like a semicircle. And if this is where your arm stays, that's as far as it can go, then that's fine. If you can get your arm to reach past, that's great too. So the goal for this pose, it's okay if you never get there, is to grab a hold of the toe. But notice if I'm grabbing a hold of the toe and I don't have the flexibility, my chest is collapsing down and I'm not getting the benefits of the pose anymore. You want to make sure that you're opening your chest up and reaching for those feet. And again, you can have your hand all the way back here if that's where your flexibility is. And just breathe into this beautiful stretch of the left side of the body. And we're going to come back up. We're going to take Janu Shirshasana on the other side. So we're going to extend out through the left leg. I'm going to get my strap. Right foot tucks into that left thigh. Wrap the strap around the ball of the left foot. Sitting up nice and tall, I'm going to fold forward. Remember, my belly is going to come down first and then my heart. And in all of these poses that I've been talking about with keeping your back flat, once you get into the position, so say I'm here and this is my maximum stretch for this pose, you can relax your head down. I just don't want you to use your head as a way of like, I'm going to get my head to my leg. You want to make sure you keep your back flat. And what I mean by lowering your head down is just relaxing your neck a little bit. You don't have to stay so tense in your neck. Allow yourself to relax into the stretch, just moving a little bit deeper with every exhale. And then we're going to come back up and we're going to take that Parvrita Janu Shirshasana. So you can move that right knee to the right a little more if you can. Right foot tucks in a little bit closer. That's not absolutely necessary. It just makes it a little bit more accessible. Left hand or left forearm on the inside edge of the left leg. Remember, you can use the block if you need to. You're going to press your right shoulder back to open up that chest and begin to get that stretch on the right side of the body. And then start to reach through the right fingertips. So again, we're taking that semicircle and bring it as far as you need to. Maybe it's a quarter of a circle. Quarter circle? I guess it would still be a semicircle. So you're breathing into the stretch. You're really reaching through the right fingertips. And if you were to take the full variation, I think it helps to move the left forearm out of the way, grabbing a hold of the toes, and you want to make sure that you're opening your chest up still. And we're going to come back up. We're going to take Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet come together, knees are falling out to the side. So reach through the crown of the head, slowly start to lower yourself down. Again, we're keeping our backs nice and flat, right? So I'm not rounding down. I'm keeping my back flat. I'm trying to place my heart either into my feet or think about placing it in front of my toes. And maybe you're here and just keeping your back flat and opening your legs like this is enough stretch. You'll feel it on the insides of your thighs, and that's okay. And stay there if that's where your stretch is. I don't want you to press down on your knees with your elbows. That's going to put too much pressure on those knee joints. So you can allow them to hover like this, or if it's comfortable for you, you can always place blocks underneath your knees too. Gives them a little bit more stability. Shoulders are pressing back and down into your back pockets. And then we're going to come back up. Take your hands to the outsides of your knees and bring those knees together. We're going to separate our feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Your hands are going to come behind you. And we're just going to windshield wiper our knees. So I like to pause on one side. It feels really good to your hips. But you don't have to pause. Just moving from side to side. And then we're going to come back to center. We're going to make our way onto our backs once again. So we're going to come onto our backs. Again, if you want to use your core, slowly roll yourself down. Feet are hip distance apart. Again, that comfortable distance away from your body. We're going to stretch our hips out, so we're going to take that right ankle and place it on top of the left knee. So you're flexing through the right foot, and we're going to start off by pressing that right knee away from us. If you feel a stretch in your hip, in your right hip here, then stay here. You don't have to move on to the next portion. I have a lot of flexibility in my hips, and I don't feel anything from doing this. So someone like me, you would grab a hold behind the left knee and pull the left knee in towards you. So this is just like a step further. And again, one is not better than the other. It just depends on what your body needs. So you want to make sure you're still flexing through that right foot. I suggest to not hold over your shin, hold underneath your shin. That way that this knee is not getting jammed. It can just flow freely and you're still just getting that stretch. And breathing into your stretch. This is a really wonderful stretch, especially if you're someone who sits a lot, drives a lot. We're going to switch sides. So we're going to drop that right foot down. Left foot goes on top of that right ankle. You're flexing through the left foot. Again, starting off, you're just pressing that left knee away from you. You could always, if your arms are not long enough, you can always use a block too, right? Use the props to help assist you. So maybe you feel a really intense stretch there and you need to stay there. If not, you're going to hold behind the right knee and pull that knee in towards you, flexing through the left foot. So you're breathing into the stretch of the left hip. The left, you'll feel it in like the glute area, and just breathe. Great, we're going to hug both knees into our chest, Once again, we're just going to rock from side to side or make circles in that lower lumbar spine. We're going to hug our knees into our chest and bring our forehead up to our knees. Make ourselves into a tiny seed and squeeze really tight. And then release everything down. So we're going to prepare ourselves for Shavasana next. I'm going to talk you through just a quick systematic relaxation and some breathing. And then there'll be silence for a little bit, and then I'll wake you up out of your Shavasana. Shavasana is really important to do after the practice because it's where it integrates all of the movements into your body. So if you're cold, make sure that you're comfortable, put socks on, put some extra layers on. It's nice to take a blanket sometimes and place it over your abdomen, or you can place it underneath your head. If you suffer from low back pain, you can always take a bolster and place it underneath your knees, just like this. And it takes a little bit of the pressure off your low back. And of course, if laying on your back is not comfortable for you at all, you can just lay on your side or just find a comfortable position that works for you. You can even take a Shavasana if you wanted to, sitting in a chair. So laying on your back, close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And just notice the breath. Notice the flow of the air into and out of your nose. And then noticing the top of your head, your scalp, and relaxing that area. Let go of any tension in the back of your head and the sides of your head. Relaxing your temples and your ears. Let go of any tension in your forehead, space between your eyes. Relaxing your eyebrows, eyelids, and eyeballs. Let go of any tension in your nose, your cheeks and cheekbones. Relaxing your lips and tongue, chin and jaw. Let go of any tension in your neck and your throat, relaxing the shoulders, upper arms and elbows, forearms, wrists, backs of the hands, palms, fingers and tips of the fingers. Bring your awareness to your chest and your upper back and relax those areas. Relaxing your mid-back and upper abdomen, low back and belly. Let go of any tension in your hips, pelvis, and glutes. Relaxing your thighs, knees, shins, and calves. Relax your ankles, the tops and sides of your feet. Let go of any tension in your heels, arches, and balls of your feet. Relaxing your toes and the tips of your toes. Do a scan of your body and see if you're holding tension anywhere. If you are, let it go with an exhale. Allow yourself to let go. Give yourself permission to relax and just be. Slowly start to bring awareness back to your breath. Begin to increase the lengths of the inhales and the exhales. Start to bring awareness back to your physical body, wiggling your fingers and toes, rolling your wrists and your ankles. And if you'd like to, taking a full body stretch. Reaching your arms up above you, reaching down through the toes. And when you're ready, you can make your way over onto your side, pausing there for a moment, cradling your head in your hands. And then pressing yourself up to a seated position. You can keep your eyes closed if you'd like, just gazing gently at the floor. Sitting up nice and tall, relax your shoulders. And take a moment just to notice how your mind and body feel. Noticing any feelings, sensations, or emotions that may or may not be coming up. Noticing without judgment. Remembering it's okay if nothing came up too. And take this time to thank yourself for showing up today, for wanting to take care of your mind, body, and spirit, and for showing yourself love, respect, and self-care that we all need and deserve. I'm going to end today's class with the sound of Om. If you'd like to join in, take a deep breath. Om. Bring your hands in a prayer at your heart center and gently bow your head. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. May the rest of your day be filled with love and light. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. It means a lot. I hope this was really helpful for you, and hopefully I get to see you soon. So, namaste.